Chullin Daf Samach Beis. We learned yesterday that in order for a bird to be kosher, it needs only one of these four simanim. Meaning, it cannot be doiris, it can't sit on its food like Rashi says today while it eats, or like Rashi said in the Mishnah, that it doesn't eat with its hands, it has a crop, it has a gizzard that is peelable easily, or it has an extra finger in its back, or the front finger is longer. If it has one of these four simanim, completely kosher. There are only two birds in the Torah that have one siman. That's the Paris and the Osnia, the bearded vulture and the osprey. So says Rav Nachman, if a person is a professional in Paris and Osnias, and he knows for a fact that the bird that he's looking at is not a Paris and Osnia, and it only has one siman, the only obvious conclusion is that it's not a treif bird. It has to be a kosher bird. And the same would apply to a bird that has two simanim. Since there's only one bird in the entire Torah that has two simanim and it's treif, and that is the oirev, the crow. Therefore, if you have a bird in front of you and you know for a fact that it's not a crow, it has to be that we're looking at a kosher bird. Ask the Gemara, so you're telling me that the only bird in the Torah that has two simanim and its treif is a crow? That's not true. We have Rebbe Lezer that holds that there are two other birds that have two simanim and is treif. And that is the starling. The starling that looks very similar to the crow, but it's very different than the crow because the starling actually it has a more of a colorful feather over here. It has colorful legs, beak, but it's very different because it has a crop, where the oirev doesn't have a crop. What's the other siman that the oirev has? It's a doiris, because all 20 birds, the three simanim that they have are zepet, kurkavan, and etzba. They are all doiris though, and a oirev is the same thing. It's a doiris. And the second siman that it has is that it does not have a crop. So therefore, it's very different. Why does Rebbe Lezer in fact say that this bird over here is treif if it's not similar to the crow? The answer is because Rebbe Lezer holds that since this hangs out a lot, it's friendly with the crow, and they share a lot of things in common. So therefore, it's treif. Chacham say, well, that's not what it says in the Torah. The Torah says crow and only a crow. So, but the bottom line is, we say that there are other birds that have two simone kashrus and are treif. So he'll have to say that the word in the Torah, oirev liminoi, minoi means everything that's similar to oirev, and like we said, the sterling is very similar, the swallow might be similar, and therefore, that's why they're treif. Ameimar is mechulik on Rav Nachman, he says that you don't have to be a professional Paris and Osnia kind of guy. You could also not know everything about a Paris and Osnia, and when you see a bird that has one siman, it's kosher. Why? Because Paris and Osnia hang out in the jungles of Africa and South Africa, wherever they hang out. They don't hang out here locally in our cities, and therefore it's kosher. What does Rav Nachman hold? Well, if you see a bird with one siman here, maybe it's one of these birds that went off track. It's from Africa, but it's here now in our city. We know that a Mitzvah, when he wants to purify himself, he brings two birds, Shnei Tziporim. The Mishnah in Negoim says, what are these birds? What kind? Dror. Now, in modern day Hebrew, dror is a sparrow, but our Gemara here tells us it's not a sparrow. We're talking about the same white-bellied swallow, and this bird, Lekula Alma, is kosher, and the L'Maschonas HaGemara, even though there's a machlokes, but L'Maschonas HaGemara, this yellow-bellied swallow is treif, and so is the black swallow or the swift, perhaps the bird that we see a lot over water, over open spaces that flies erratically, that is treif. There's a bird called a tassel. The Gemara says that it's from the family of pigeons, and therefore a pigeon is a beneya, and it can only bring it when it's immature, versus a turtle dove, they can only bring it when it's mature. So this tassel, if you want to bring it as a carbon, it has to be an immature tassel. What's fascinating, the Gemara says that the only bird in the world that drinks a certain way is a pigeon. Meaning, all birds, they drink with gravity. They take water into their beaks, they push their head backwards, and the water goes down their throat. A pigeon drinks like a vacuum. It sucks water in. And the Gemara says, therefore, all birds that drink from meichatos, the paraduma water, if they drink from it, they passel it because they drink and they spit back into the bowl, and mela it's passel. But a pigeon who has a suction, so nothing goes back into the bowl, and mela it's kosher. What's fascinating is that I looked it up on Google, and indeed, till this very day, scientists have not found another single bird in all of the bird kingdom that drinks like the pigeon. So the Gemara says that even though a tassel is exactly like a pigeon because it's the same family, yes, it drinks like a vacuum, but it's a little sloppy and it drifts back into the bowl, and therefore when a tassel drinks from mechatos, it does passel it like all other birds. Now, in general, in all of Shas, do we care about something that has a nickname? when the Torah says you should bring Ezov with a carbon Pesach, with the Meichatas, a Mitzvah brings Ezov, does it have to be a pure word Ezov, or could it have like a nickname, the Roman Ezov, blue Ezov, etc.? Says the Gemara, and what about our sugya? When you have to bring a turtle dove, could it have a Shem Levi? Could it be called a turtle dove Tzitzione? Says Abaya, well, it depends. If the nickname originated before Matan Torah, and then the Torah says bring a turtle dove, then that's a problem, because the Torah is saying Dafker turtle dove and not the one with the nickname. But if the nickname originated after Matan Torah, it's not a problem. Rava says what we look at is in the city that it's named after. So Tzitzione is the name of a city. Do we call this bird a Tzitzione turtle dove in Tzitzione? If we don't, that means it's not a real nickname. But if in that city we call it with the nickname, like a Roman Ezov, they call it in Rome a Roman Ezov, that's why it's puzzle, and that's why the Tzitzione bird would be kosher. Rav Asi says there are 8 birds that we have a suffix if they're kosher or not. Why? What's the problem? They have 3 simanim of kashrus perfect. The problem is the 4th siman, the gizzard that peels easily, we're not so sure if it peels easily. Why? Because you need to use a knife. So since we have a suffix that doesn't peel so easily, maybe it's treif. Stay away from these 8 birds. Now, originally the Gemara said that a swamp chicken is treif, which sounds like a male, and a swamp hen, which sounds like female, is kosher. What's a swamp hen? This bird right over here, swamp hen. Now, Tosfos says, don't think that one is a male and the other is a female, but they're the same breed, the same species. Because it's impossible to have from the same species one that's kosher and the other one is treif. So you have to say that a swamp hen is a completely different species as a swamp chicken. Now, what happened was, we thought originally, for many years, we thought that this bird is kosher. All of a sudden, Chacham observed this bird being a doiris. And the Mishnah says any bird that is a doiris, even if it has all the simani kashrus, is automatically treif, and therefore it's treif. So there's an amazing Rashi that says, and I'm sure they use this Rashi for the controversy with Turkey, etc. Rashi says that in our days, if you have all the simani kashrus, yet it's not doiris, you never observed it to be doiris. Doiris is different than the other simani. The other simani you could physically see. Does it have a crop? Does it have extra finger? But doiris you have to observe. You have to sit and watch it day and night for many, many years. And since you see there's a problem with the swamp hen, that we thought it wasn't doiris, and yet later on it came to be known that it is doiris, so therefore you cannot eat any bird unless you have a complete Messiah. Have a wonderful day.